on the Voice of Texas. We were talking about Common Core and the threats that it posed. So we were very good at outlining the threat from Common Core and what's not going to work and what hasn't worked. Now I want to start focusing on some solutions, and here to help me do that is Mary Ashmore. She's the president and CEO of Learners Online, which provides web-based curriculum and lesson materials for K through 12. Learners Online applies instruction to freely available, superior and engaging content on the web in a way that students find, natural in our digital age. The materials are used by schools in over 30 states and homeschools across the nation. Mary, welcome to the Voice of Texas with me, Chris Salcedo.
Good morning, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you on board. Look, I know that we went over Common Core and some of its dangers yesterday, and it also bears pointing out the status quo is not working in our system. Before we move on, the current system before Common Core's adoption still isn't working. Give us some bullet points as to why you think that is.
Well, I think that early on, maybe one of the major issues was the explanation of Common Core. The marketing, if you will. I think that if it was rolled out in such a way that teachers felt comfortable with what was happening, not taking their expertise away, not taking their independence away.
Oh yeah, but I'm talking about before Common Core even because it's in the process of being adopted right now across. Well, actually, as of yesterday, it was 46 states. Just as we were sleeping, another state has rejected Common Core, so it's now down to 45. But before Common Core, there was a system that was in place that really wasn't working either. And just identify the problems that you see with the way that we were doing things for the last 3 or 4 decades.
Well, I guess it was fragmented for the most part. Yeah. States were floundering. Teachers weren't supported by a common goal or objective. They were on their own in terms of creating their own standards and supporting their teachers and providing good content. And so I think it was probably time for states to come together, for teachers to come together, and we certainly have students who are they don't stay in one place, so it was important for each state to come together and have a discussion about what we needed to do as the United States. Mm-hmm. So before, I think it was everybody was very independent on their own, unsure of where to go and what to do. Although I have to say, when I was growing up, testing and the emphasis on such didn't seem to be a problem. I feel like it was in the background. And sure. Teachers were allowed to teach.
Well, there was an emphasis on testing, saying, hey, look, you know what, you need to demonstrate the material, but getting there there seemed to be a lot more flexibility for the teachers to get you there, and I think that's what's lacking in modern right. Schools, public schools, I should say, not schools in general. Public schools suffer from this mostly. Learners Online, your service is a great resource for homeschooling parents. And this is a phenomenon that I have watched over the last 5 to 10 years, that a lot of parents, in defending their families and defending their children from America's failing schools and the liberal domination of America's failing schools, have decided to homeschool their children in self-defense. And your service is like a godsend for a lot of these homeschool parents, yes?
Well, especially because I think parents are listening to their kids when they say, put me on the computer. Let me look for resources on my own. I was on the internet today, and here's what I found. And so I think it's refreshing to see that parents are a little bit more engaged with their kids' education, right. And then the kids themselves, at the high school level at least, are asking, or sometimes in some cases begging, to have different ways to learn, to use different resources. And so with how technology has come about and is moving so quickly, I think we need to be listening more to the students, to the kids, and engage them and see exactly what it is they want to have us do to have them learn, to support them in learning.
Mary Ashmore is my guest. She's the president and CEO of Learners Online. Now, you and I both know that the internet has, aside from the risks that we're not going to talk about right now for kids jumping online, just because it's written online, I have learned this over the years, it doesn't necessarily mean it's factual. So you guys have probably done a good bit of work there at Learners Online to basically make sure that the resources the kids are looking up and finding do have credibility and are based in academic truth, yes?
That is very critical. Even myself, I'll go to certain URLs, and then if you don't get behind the URL and find out exactly who's providing content on that exact URL,
yep.
So very, very important and very scary. So at the same time, yes, we spend tons of hours researching the best of the web. I say we end up with 5-star sites with good, rich content, relevant content, engaging content, and we write the instruction around that. So we all know that the web provides a lot of good free content. It's all out there, but I think what's lacking is the instruction and how to pinpoint what's on a specific page on a website, and how can we focus on that and have that piece of information come alive, and now the students engaged and they're learning from several resources.
Mary, I'm going to give you my take on what I think we need to do that would, by and large, fix our education system here in the country, and I want you to tell me where you think I'm wrong, if you think I'm wrong, okay? The education system is missing a vital component called competition. Public education, all you have to do is put a behind in the seat, and you get your money. Whether the child learns or not is not contingent upon you getting your money. If you're a public education service. A lot of the parents that we mentioned that are either homeschool or sending their kids to private schools or into religious education, they have to pay twice. Not only do they have to pay the taxes for the public education system, they have to pay for their own student to go and defend themselves against the public education system.
Right.
And for me, that is the problem, because right now the way our system is set up, and everybody that has students in school needs to hear this, the way the system is set up, the money is not set aside for your child, all right? The money is set aside for the institution of public education. So the emphasis, according to the states and federal governments, is not whether or not your child learns, it's investing in the institution. How many times have you heard some extremist liberals say, we have to protect public schools. We have to protect public schools. That's where their emphasis is. It's the protection of the institution of the public schools. Whether or not your kid learns, that's beside the point. We as a society, the United States of America, must make up our mind that our resources and our money will not follow the institution, will not follow the teachers' unions who take that taxpayer-funded money and assess union dues on that, take that money and donate to Democrats. We need to insist the money follows the child wherever the parent deems is necessary for the child to be educated. And that way, we can start introducing a competition dynamic in our education system. And competition always, and I'll say this is an axiom, take it to the bank, competition always breeds excellence. So Mary, you go ahead and tell me where I'm wrong.
Absolutely. No. I think you are right on. And we will be shocked by how that kind of competition will elevate the learning, the system, and if you do that with the kids and you do it with the teachers, I think everybody becomes better for it. I mean, it absolutely works. I think it works in all of our industries, for sure.
And what a life lesson we'd be teaching very early on to our students. I mean, because we think that they couldn't have any concept of all of this stuff, but really they absorb an awful lot.
Absolutely.
And if they see teachers being rewarded for their performance, that trickles down the line, and when teachers are rewarded for their performance, that's an attribute they tend to teach their kids. Right now, teachers themselves are learning, just show up, get your money. Just show up, get your money. Whether or not somebody learns, that's beside the point. And the kids pick that up through osmosis, and it's a dangerous. I think it's part of the reason why we're seeing such a decline in America's public education system. Mary Ashmore, President, CEO of Learners Online. It has been a pleasure speaking with you again. We're going to talk about education's a big focus of mine, so we're going to get you on again. Thank you very much for being here. All right, coming up, we'll have a discussion. after our Common Core discussion yesterday, I ran across, and I posted this on the Chris Salcedo Show Facebook page if you want to look at it yourself. Wait till I